Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me this weekend. Today is Sunday, March 24th, and this is your weekly analysis video. Okay, so we're looking at a 4-hour chart of the NQ, and on this chart, we've got the forecast boxes from last week's video. We're going to start by giving ourselves a rating for this forecast. You can see that I got the time right, but price was not. Okay, so everything was a little bit lower than what it should have been. But from a timing perspective, we absolutely nailed the low, was almost in the middle of the target box here on Tuesday the 19th. And we caught that rip up on the 20th and a high over here in this area on Friday. So even though my personal rules are that anytime the actual price touches a target box, I give myself an A. I did not, we did not accomplish that this week, but I did have two target boxes and both of them were correct on time. So I'm going to give myself an A for that effort, even though each individual box was only a B because I got the timing right, but not price. But I guess what I'm saying is two Bs make an A. So that is my self-assessment for this. And I want to share with you the details of a trade here that I took. And I don't usually go over personal trades here because that's really not what Time Trades is about. It's not about Blair making calls. It's about providing some great and unique analysis tools for you to make your own trades. So I want to show an example of this, and there's two real takeaways here on what led to this successful trade. And the first one you already know, and that's last week's video analysis where we talked about the unique juice spike that was happening on the 20th, where we have a rare situation of two four-planet alignments, including Earth in one of those. And juice spikes are one of those rare and very unique and interesting astro events that seem to be almost always bullish. I hesitate to use the word always, but so I'll use the word almost always instead. But when we get these 3 or 4 planet alignments, they almost always seem to trigger a move up. So I had a bullish bias coming into FOMC because of that technical analysis that I did using time trades on the prior weekend, and that's all recorded in video. The second big learning and takeaway here is don't enter the trade prior to FOM, prior to major news, right? And this is a takeaway from Stacy Burke's great channel. I talk about him a lot here. I'll include a link to his channel in the comments below if you're not familiar. But I really like Stacy Burke because he provides the price action analysis that is an excellent complement to the timing analysis in time trade. So if you can think of a barbell, on one end of the barbell, we've got timing. On the other end, we've got price action. I lean heavily on Stacy Burke's techniques for price action analysis. And one of his rules is to always enter trades after news announcements or and do not hold trades across major news announcements. So that's what I did here, and it resulted in a very low stress, high reward trade where I achieved about almost a 5x risk reward. So that was an excellent trade last week. And those are the two major things that led to it. Okay, so that's it for last week. Let's go into the forecast going forward and see what we can do. Now, this is really the first week that since I released the new time trade script, and you can see here the new teal lines. If we double click on those, I can show you where those are coming from. These are subdividing the white magic levels into eighths. Okay, so you can see how well respected those are, and you can see also how much resistance it's giving to the NQ here. Okay, and When we go and take a look at what's coming next, we want to lean on a couple things. One is our ruler that we have anchored to the December 27th high, December 27th, 2021, of course. So that was the last major high, and it continues to spit out major pivot points for us. These are the settings that we use. I think the most important one is Mars-Uranus 15. That has been just the absolute bomb. And we can see here how Mars-Uranus 15 is still, after more than 2 years, identifying nice pivots here for us. Okay. And we've got another one coming up in conjunction with the speed index. This line here is the speed index. So this is coming from planetary lines. And this script was recently updated this week so that we can get a good view of speed index, of the speed index intraday. Okay. So we can see here we've got a nice combination of Mars-Uranus 15 with a peak in the speed index. Now, the way we interpret the speed index is pivots usually mark a pivot in price. So just because speed index is going up doesn't necessarily mean price is going up. Okay. In this case, speed index went up, price went up. Okay. In this case, speed index went down, price went down until we hit this juice spike and also a declination event. So declination events tend to create inversions in the speed index. So we got an inversion, we got another push up into this teal level here, 1/8 level of the white magic levels. All right, so what's next? I want to anchor this analysis on two things. Number one, using the ruler here, and we've got the Mars-Uranus 15, and number two, using juice again. So if we go over to time trades and we take a look at the juice indicator, you will see a giant juice spike on March 27th. So it's very easy to get excited about that. I want to caution against that, though. And the reason is Earth is not involved in this juice spike. This juice spike is created by Mars-Uranus series being in an almost perfect line in 3 dimensions. Okay, so the next juice spike that involves Earth is Venus, Earth, and Neptune on April 3rd. It's this little guy down here. Okay, so it's not as perfect as this one, which is why the peak is lower. However, I think it is definitely worth keeping an eye on that one. I do need to go back and do a little bit of work on the juice and test it out to see if it's worth, like, how to optimize it. Should I be including the alignments that include Earth or not in this going forward? So that's on my to-do list. Now, another thing that we reliably use year after year here is Mercury Speed, and that is shown on short-term waves here in the web application. And you can see that Mercury Speed is starting to drop, and it's going to be dropping until it reaches peak negative speed right around April 15th, 16th or so, okay? Now, this shows up better on NDX. If we flip over to NDX and turn on short-term waves, you'll see what I mean. So you can see here we've got a cluster of pivots, April 15th, right at the low of Mercury Speed. And then after that, a big series of moves. I think these are moves up almost always as Mercury accelerates up from its peak negative speed, we get a boost up in price. So this is how I'm interpreting things here. So I think in general, what I'm looking for is kind of like choppy sideways to down until mid-April. And then once we get past the worst of Mercury retrograde and this eclipse season, then we'll see a boost up. So how does that translate into a forecast for the short term? Let's take a look at that. So we've we can take a look at the speed index, and speed index always has to be interpreted with declination and nodal events. Okay. Now, when we turn on the events indicator, we can see that we've got a couple of declination events coming up, and these often act as inversions in the speed index. Okay, so basically, what I'm assuming happens here is because the speed index is still going down, and the price trend was up. I think this price trend is going to continue until we hit this guy here, which is Mercury square its nodes. So if we go over here and see what happened, Mercury square its nodes, we saw a high. All right. So this high is going to come in right as the speed index makes a low. So this is a perfect point for an inflection in price. Okay, so that's Wednesday the 27th, and that gives us the first box on our forecast. Okay, then looking ahead, we've got speed index changing directions, going up, okay, into Mars-Uranus 15. Okay, so I think what's going to happen here is we're going to see a change in trend, but that's going to be interrupted by these declination events. We've got Mercury max declination and then a couple others involving Venus. And we also have that big juice spike that I'm keeping my eye on April 3rd. Okay, so April 3rd is over here. And I think that's going to be a bullish event like the prior juice spikes have been. So what I'm expecting is that we're going to see a low just before that around April 1st, April 2nd, bracketing this lunar declination event. Sorry, it's not lunar. It's Mercury's declination event here. Okay, so new high here based on continuation of the speed index, drop into this green box here based on change in direction of the speed index. And then finally, I'm anticipating or forecasting a move up into a lower high that aligns with Mars-Uranus here. So we'll line that up. Okay, so that's Monday the 8th. And that aligns with the Mercury Earth. It aligns with Mars Uranus and the change in direction here in the speed index. So I think this juice spike that we've got coming up starting on April 3rd is going to push price up, and we could I'm much more focused on time than price, so I'm not sure exactly where we're going to be here. We could be up higher, we could be down lower, but let's just say we get a push up into this 1/8 level again. So this is our new forecast going forward. I'm going to show the path here, show the right path. There we go. So we'll take a look at this. I think what's going to happen is in the rear view mirror, you know, in a couple of weeks, people will look back on this time and say, oh, wow, look at all that chop. But I think the cool thing is here is that using the Time Trades tool set, we've got the toolkit to see this coming and to you know, get ready for it. This is not the right time to swing for the fences. That was Venus interval 2. We're changing into Venus interval 3. And there's going to be a bit of volatility as we go through that change. I do still think we head higher into the summer with major tops in I don't know, could be July or August. I've talked about that a couple weeks ago. But I think for now we've got a little bit of consolidation and volatility we need to navigate, a little sideways action. We're in the middle of eclipse season. We don't usually get trending markets in eclipse season, okay? Yeah, I think chop is the name of the game with a downward bias um, because of the Mercury retrograde that we've got coming up. And I think that's going to resolve right around mid-April. Okay, so keep an eye on that. We've got about 2, 3 weeks to go. And then I think the bull will resume through the summer there. Okay, so that's the forecast for NQ. I'll be back shortly with a look at Bitcoin. Alrighty, we're back looking at Bitcoin here, and I've got a little update to share on the ruler configuration that we're using. So the oldest ruler that I've got here is this one. It starts on November 8th of 2022. Um, and if we scroll back, we can see where it started. Here it is, over here on this big swoosh down, November 8th. And one of the tweaks that I made is to I think it's the Jupiter Saturn configuration here. So if we bring that up, no, that's the speed index. We want this one. Okay, so Jupiter Saturn used to be 7.5, but I did a little bit of work and identified an even better value for this cycle, and it's 7.27. Okay, so if we look at the green labels, the 7.27 labels that are spinning off from this, we can see Jupiter Saturn 7.27, 7.27, 7.27, and the kicker is this one that tagged the high on March 13th or so, almost to the day. Okay, might have been a couple days early. All right, but still insanely accurate for a 1.5 year old anchor point. All right. Um, so what does this mean going forward for Bitcoin? Well, we're obviously in a correction phase, and I think that's healthy. We can't keep going up like this indefinitely. We are trying to find a bottom to this correction using a couple of new rulers that I added last weekend here. This guy here is 304 degrees of sidereal moon and 281 of synodic moon. And this is going from low to low. And we can see here how this also caught the high. So we may get a low around here in this area, around kind of like mid-April. The second ruler I've got here is, or actually correction, these lunar labels. I was trying to go from high to high. Okay, so I wanted to get the high here and the high here, and it looks like mostly I've achieved that. These two here, Mercury 91 and Venus 49, okay, anchored to the same bar. I'm trying to go from low to low. All right. So the next hits of these, you can see how Mercury 91 tagged the high very nicely, and you can see how the next examples of these are Venus 49, Mercury 91, coming up March 24th and March 28th. And then, of course, we've got Mercury helio 180 degrees. All right. So when we get a cross like this, that means it's 180 degrees through its helio orbit. Crosses like this are 0 degrees. Okay. So we're coming up to Mercury helio. And if we take a look at time trades machine learning, what the machine learning is telling us is there's a reasonable probability of a pivot right around April 1. Okay. And then after that, it looks like we're going to resume the move. And if it's in the same direction, it's going to go up. So where does this leave us? Well, I think we've got a reasonable chance of a low kind of in this area here, based on the machine learning. Could be anywhere. Let's add a very rough box. I wouldn't even call this a forecast, but I'd call this kind of like a timing box here. I'm not even going to try to guess on prices other than around this magic level. So let's start with this bar here, and could go over and include this crossover point, okay? So what we're basing this on is the Venus and Mercury helio cycles. We're basing this on the helio crossover over here, and we're basing this on the time trades machine learning that is targeting April 1 for a low. What I really like about the price action here on Bitcoin is how it is retaining this white magic level. We know how important white magic levels are in my work. And you can see how it bounced right off of this 1/8 of a magic level here. And I think it's got more sort of consolidation and correction to go. Maybe about a month ago, I shared a video where I talked about the Mercury Earth synodic cycle. And you can see how these labels are starting to stretch out a little bit. The last time we had these labels stretching out, that's indicative of Mercury kind of slowing down in its helio cycle relative to Earth. The last time we had that stretch effect was over here in January. And then we got the low right on another white magic level down at 39. Okay, so we may see the low in alignment with that stretching effect again over in this green box. I mean, price could go down as low as the 60s, still be above this blue 1/8 line, or even this Mercury line here, but we're fighting to keep ahead of above this white magic level. And we're also kind of staying within this Mercury helio band here, right? So I think that would be fine as long as we don't break below this lower band. And I would really want to see some sort of strong move coming up out of this afterwards. Otherwise, the bullish case is really in question. Okay, so those are my quick thoughts on Bitcoin, and that's it for the video today. It's taking a long time for me to get this out the door and in your hands, so unfortunately, there's no time for me to take a look at gold. So by all means, please protect your capital, stay safe, trade safe, and we will talk to you again next week. Thank you. Bye now.